Good morning. We all woke, we finished Shabbos and opened our phones to the shocking news of someone trying to assassinate former President Trump. Actually, I went to Shul to have Ma'ariv, and we made Ma'ariv late so people could get there, and I didn't even know, and someone in Shul told me. And of course it's a shocking morning for Americans and people who love democracy and freedom all over the world, because we all know that the rhetoric in this country and around the world has to be dialed down on both sides, and that constantly, and already today, everyone's blaming the other person. A former president was nearly killed by an inch, by centimeters. Literally, he was saved. And instead of leaders from all parties getting up and speaking unequivocally about lowering the temperature and dialing down the rhetoric, you see on TV and on Twitter people blaming everyone else. And the same is true in Israel. You watch what's going on, and if you support Prime Minister Netanyahu or you don't, to see the rhetoric and to see the demonization, we're at so close to, heaven forbid, something like this happening in Israel. And it behooves us all, as human beings, as lovers of freedom and democracy, and people who love the USA, to unequivocally condemn rhetoric that says that people are a threat to democracy and they're dangerous and they have to be eliminated, or etc., on both sides. It's interesting, because this week's Torah portion is the portion of Balak. And the portion of Balak speaks about Balak, the king of Moab, who was worried about the Jews. And he wanted to fight and annihilate the Jewish people. But he recognized that every single war that the Jewish people had, they were victorious. And he realized that the Jewish people's power was with their mouth, because they had Moses, they had God. So what did he do? He went and he hired a prophet of the Gentiles, whose name was Bilam. And he said, if I can't win them by fighting, I'm going to win them with words. And he wanted Bilam to go and to curse the Jewish people. And ultimately we know the famous story that not only does God warn Bilam he can't curse the people, Ki Baruch Hu, they're blessed, and he tries it again, but every word that Bilam used, against the Jewish people was turned into a blessing. And we'll discuss that through the week. You hear the story, one of the verses that Bilam said is part of our prayers that we say every day, Matovu. But think about it this way. If Balak was so convinced that the words were the power and that he wanted to get Bilam, he could have done something else. Instead of asking Bilam to curse the Jews, he could have asked Bilam to bless his people. He could have said, look, the Jews have Moses. They have a power of someone who blesses, of someone who lifts them up. I'm going to get a prophet, Bilam, to bless my people, to be protected. But he didn't do that. He wanted Bilam to curse the Jewish people. And of course he failed miserably. And you think about it, and think about speech, and the power of speech. And think about what's going on in our country and the world. You could speak about how great your candidate is, how great your idea is. You could bless your people. But it's always so much easier to curse the next one and to say how bad they are, how dangerous they are. And what happens is that this rhetoric, you see what's going on with the encampments about Israel too. You see about all these young, naive college students who were brainwashed and are taking the words, inflammatory words, and using it to hurt, to threaten. We as a nation, as a country, have to learn from this and the story of Bilam, to bless, to speak positively, to talk about ideas, about values. And at the end of the day, for the Jewish people, we have to remember that no matter what Bilam or anyone else says, God promises, Ki Baruch Hu, we are blessed, He will protect us, and He will look after us. God bless you and have a great day.